Gaming is by far the biggest entertainment industry in terms of revenue. In 2024, the global gaming market revenue reached about 184.3 billion US dollars. It is clear that they make a lot of money, but producing modern games, especially AAA games, requires massive budgets, and a staggering amount is spent on marketing. Take Cyberpunk 2077 as an example. When the game released, it cost about 316 million US dollars. The game had a rough release. After the release, a lot of money was spent on subsequent updates and bug fixes, bringing the total over $400 million. That is a lot of money. The game was a commercial success though and made way more and ultimately proved to be profitable. AAA games these days have a base price tag of $70. We know that a lot of money goes into production and marketing costs. But are the prices justified for the modern releases? Will the prices go even higher? Could high prices lead to an increase in piracy? In this video, I plan on answering these questions to the best of my abilities. First and foremost, let's look at the history of video game prices post-2000 from the 6th generation of consoles. Big games used to cost between $40 to $50 on the 6th generation of consoles, the PS2 and OG Xbox era. The price of games increased in the following generation, the 7th generation of consoles. The games for PS3 and Xbox 360 set a new standard tag of $60. The $60 price tag continued through the next generation of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The $60 tag was not set in stone. Indie and arcade games usually cost less than $60, and this trend continues today. Throughout the increase in pricing, the games have gradually gone on to look better, play better, and have incorporated meaningful storytelling in them. The leap in quality is less prominent from the PS4, Xbox One era to the PS5 and Xbox Series era. The leap in quality was much bigger and noticeable in the previous generations. Let's address the elephant in the room. Is the $70 price tag justified? In my opinion, for the most part, the $70 price tag is justified. Taking into account the modern cost of production and marketing and keeping in mind that games in the 7th generation of consoles from 2005 onwards used to cost $60. If we adjust that for inflation, it becomes roughly $90 today. So a $10 increase in all these years does seem fairly justified. The increase is justified financially, but not always justified in terms of quality. Whether the quality of the product justifies the $70 price tag, that is a whole other question. And frankly, it depends on the player and what they want from a game. Some companies are just using the $70 price tag of video games to print money.
Hello, I like money.
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money.
FIFA, or as it is now called EAFC, is an example of this along with many other sports games. I'm a massive football fan and I have very fond memories of FIFA, but I have not bought a new one in what seems like ages, because I don't think FIFA or EAFC is worth spending $70 on. There has been a lot of criticism on the game in recent times, and rightfully so. It is not a secret that there is not a huge leap in the recent titles, barely anything noticeable. New titles feel more like upgrades than actual new games. This trend is heavy in other sports games as well, like the NBA 2K series. A new trend in modern gaming is delivering unfinished games and then costing $70 for it. Modern games are becoming increasingly notorious for horrendous optimization. Some are simply unplayable, especially on low-end hardware. Many modern Unreal Engine 5 titles are an example. Companies at times use their titles to expand the player base and appeal to a wider audience. Forced inclusion where the focus is to appeal to a wider audience can backfire big time. When the purpose of the release is to make the player base more inclusive rather than dishing out a well-worked, passion-driven game, it ends up hurting the final product. Instead of winning new fans, it makes the game alienate the core player base. Dragon Age the Veilguard is the prime example of this problem. Most of the failed projects can be seen on a discounted price just a month later due to poor sales. In terms of modern financial market, $70 for games is justified. But clearly, in terms of quality and what the game offers to the player, that is not always the case. It does not mean that all modern games do not deserve the money they make in terms of quality. Some developers still prioritize quality and player experience, proving that well-made games can be both critically acclaimed and financially successful. In the midst of modern failures, we still get very good games that are 100% worth spending $70. Modern gaming can prove to be very joyful. You just have to look in a certain direction that caters your needs. And $70 is not necessary for a game to prove to be profitable for the studio. We have big games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 which released just this month and it only costs $60. It is immersive, well optimized and has made all the money spent on the production according to the developers. It is rightfully one of the most popular games right now and has been shown a lot of love by the community. Baldur's Gate 3, one of the best RPGs to date, released for $60 only. It is a modern classic. Both of the aforementioned games launched at $60 and these games did great in terms of sales. They marked huge financial success for the publishers. This shows that passion and effort is the key even to a game's financial success. That being said, in this day and age, I think the $70 price tag is justified, provided that the developers are giving us a game that is playable, fun in one way or another, and justifies the production cost. The price increase of $10 from the Xbox 360 PS3 era is 100% justified. However, not every game deserves that price tag, and it is up to the buyer whether or not they feel that a game deserves their hard-earned money. As far as lackluster games that cost $70 go, we as consumers have the choice to invest in a game. The best way to stop the trend of lackluster releases costing $70 is to shun them. Read player reviews before buying a game, and definitely do not pre-order games. Financial losses when players refuse a game will eventually force the companies to up their game. If we criticize these games yet keep buying them, then we are part of the problem and have no one else to blame but ourselves. Moving on to another big question, will video game prices increase? Video game prices are bound to increase sooner or later. There are rumors that Grand Theft Auto 6 will cost between $80 to $100. Realistically, I do not think that the standard edition will cost that much. But if it does, a lot of other studios are sure to follow in the footsteps and start charging the same for some of their games. I know many people won't pay $100 for a game, but since it is Rockstar Games, I think a lot of people will be willing to pay $100 in case of Grand Theft Auto 6, if it actually costs that much. And remember, the game carries massive expectations. Rockstar Games have almost always over-delivered with their games and the bar is really high. Most recent example is Red Dead Redemption 2. If they charge $100 and the game under-delivers, it will taint the image of Rockstar Games and may have an adverse effect on sales. But say the game delivers and sets the bar even higher somehow. A lot of people will certainly pay $100. And then this game will pave the way for other studios to charge higher prices as well, regardless of the quality of the game. Once that precedent is set, it will become the new industry norm. I think the $100 tag will ultimately hurt video game sales, and it may lead to one very big problem. One that publishers have been fighting for decades.
There be treasure!
If game prices see an increase now, especially without the quality to justify the prices, we are sure to see a rampant surge in video game piracy. It is no secret that video game piracy is pretty big on PC, and also on consoles in the past. Piracy is difficult on modern consoles, though it is still there, but the piracy problem is still very big on PC. Charging higher prices, especially when players think it is not worth it, may lead to an unprecedented rise in piracy. And remember, the PC gaming scene was once drowning in piracy. Platforms like Steam played a huge role in curbing by offering great customer support, regional pricing, frequent discounts, and a convenient library. It did not stop piracy altogether, but it provided a platform to invest in that provides good value. Massive credit in this regard to Valve and Gabe Newell. But if the games go on to cost higher and players do not think that they deserve to cost that much, piracy will reach a new height, and will surely somehow make its way on consoles as well. Another factor to consider when discussing game prices is how ownership has changed in the digital era. I believe a $10 increase in pricing from $60 to $70 was 100% justified, taking into account inflation and the generational leaps. But most of the games are digital now, and most of the game sales are digital as well. Owning a digital game is different to a physical copy. It may be convenient, yes, but it means that we do not actually own the game. We just have the license to play the game. On the other hand, physical copies are the copies you have full ownership of. You can resell them if you want, lend them to friends, and you can even play a game after it has been delisted without any restrictions. Majority of the sales are digital these days. In this era where physical copies are almost obsolete, Majority of the players pay for digital licenses. Right now, a $70 price tag for games is enough in my opinion, but not any more than that. We are sure to see an increase in video game prices in the future. It is inevitable. But given the state of the industry right now, any price hike will backfire. So, circling back to the big question, is the $70 price tag justified? In theory, yes, when you consider inflation, development costs, and marketing costs. But in practice, it depends on the game. We have seen publishers charge $70 for unfinished and uninspiring games, while other games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, like I mentioned before, were priced at $60, $10 less than the industry norm. Both of these games made a lot of money and proved to be very profitable. This shows that a $70 tag is not necessary for a game to be a big financial success. This clearly refutes the need to increase prices in order for a game to be a profitable argument by the companies. In terms of quality, we as consumers dictate whether certain games deserve $70. A lot of indie developers charge between $15 to $25 and they deliver quality products. So when it comes to buying, we should spend the amount we think a game deserves. Then come the concerns about the future. Will the game prices increase? Surely. But not right now, and I do not think Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to cost between $80 to $100. But if they do and it becomes the industry norm, then we will see a substantial rise in piracy and the overall game sales will take a hit, and a big one. With this, I would like to conclude the video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I did not waste your time. Goodbye.